So I'm gonna play it for you. So that's the song that Rachael and I had talked about and chose to have her walk down the aisle to. It's just a beautiful song. It's John Butler Trio, Oceans. And I can, if you listen, or if I listen, I can see it all so clearly, just because I've imagined it for so long. And it just seems to be a thing that, especially like if I'm on a run or on the treadmill or something and I'm zoning out, my favorite thing to picture, of course, even when she was here, years before we even got engaged, was I would picture her walking down the aisle towards me. And, part of it was obviously just that would be the pinnacle moment for me, after just loving this girl for so long and then finally having my shot with her and having it be amazing and work out and us be just so happy. So I would picture that all the time, even before we started dating or she even knew I liked her. I would picture her. God, I mean, picturing her walk down the aisle at that point was probably, something I would cut off. So just because I felt like it was so unrealistic. But as it became more real, I would think about it more often, and I would play this song, and I would kind of drift off and be there and see her walking down the aisle and our wedding party walking down the aisle. And it became, the closer it got to us actually, planning our wedding and everything, and after we were engaged, the closer it got, the more that fantasy, not fantasy, but that vision of mine, what I would do would I would practice not breaking down. I've always been super emotional when it comes to people that I love, and I loved Rachael more than anyone in the world, and it was so thinking about her walking down the aisle, just thinking about it, makes me break down a lot. And in the gym, I would usually change songs, and so that would change what was going on. But I know that I would fall apart when she walked down the aisle, and I don't care. I think it was just inevitable. And as she became sicker and sicker, and I realized that it wasn't going to happen, that I wouldn't see her walking towards me down the aisle in her beautiful dress. I found pictures of her in her dress while she was still alive, but she wasn't very coherent, or she wasn't very aware of what was going on. I just wanted to see her in the dress. I wanted to see her in that dress while she was still alive. So I found those pictures, and I saw her in that dress that she chose. And it's, I just can't. She looked just even more beautiful than you could ever imagine. The dress she chose was just so typically her, which is subtle, elegant, timeless, stunning, gorgeous, and very simple, simple dress. She, I think we deserved that after all we had been through to walk down the aisle. She deserved that, and it hurts me that it didn't happen the way she wanted it to, and I think about it still a lot. But now when I think about it, I'm usually at home, and this sounds crazy, and I know this sounds a little intense, but this is something that I do just because I feel like I can. So now I'll play that song. There's a much longer version of it that I'll play, and I'll stand up and close my eyes, and I will really, really try to slow my heartbeat down, and put myself in that garden, the botanical garden, and stand in that place. Put myself in that day, my eyes closed, just standing, the song playing, and picturing her walking down the aisle towards me. I even picture the wedding party so I can go through the whole process. And, of course, it always makes me break down because in that moment, what happens is I've made a terrible amount of mistakes in my past. I had my issues with substance abuse that caused just horrible ripple effects throughout my whole family, and I made a series of terrible choices as a young man. And just with everything, I never looked forward to never thought about my future. I wanted to escape and feel comfortable in the moment, and it caused me to make a lot of bad decisions as a young guy. And when I started to get my shit together, and I had a few years, clean years, where I went back to school and got in shape. I really cleaned up my act, and that was because of Rachael. Not because we were dating, because I did all that prior to us dating. I did all that while working in the same restaurant as her because I wanted to improve myself just in case there was any shot of me being with her. And let me tell you, I lost 80 pounds in the course of a year. I was Alpha Xi Omega back in college, and it was a community college, but nonetheless, I worked my ass off. I quit smoking pot. I quit smoking cigarettes, which I picked up eventually again, the cigarettes, but the pot, I'd smoked pot for so long, it just made me, it was numbing my personality and dulling my personality, and I didn't I needed to be sharp if I was going to talk to this girl. So yeah, I did all that, and my dream came true. We met, we went on she asked me for a ride home and came home with me, and somehow she liked me too, and the rest is history. And been picturing that wedding for a long time. So it hurts me that it didn't get to happen. It really does. But in my mind, it did happen. She is my wife. And believe it or not, I can visualize that moment and get so lost in it that it feels real. It feels very real. And I've I've dreamt about it so much and thought about it so much that it's become an event that's real, that's happened for me in so many times in my mind that it feels like a real a real thing, a real day that happened in my life that I can relive over and over. And so I'm sure, as anybody knows, I'm not sure, but I know that I guarantee that I'm not alone in that. If you've lost somebody you love, or if you love somebody so deeply, music can cause serious emotional reactions. When songs can cause real heavy neurons to fire in your brain, and you can really be transported into an emotion or a spiritual state. And that's what happens now. After losing Rachel, like, I can't listen to any of the sad songs that we loved together, or any of the songs she loved that, even if they're not sad, if she just really loved those songs and we listen to them together, if I hear them and I play them, I'm right there. I'm right back to feeling all the things I felt during that, especially during that last year and a half. It feels. I see a counselor and they talk about stress and what happens after you've gone through something stressful. It doesn't feel that way to me. The way I can describe it is the hardest thing. Missing Rachel is just missing her. Missing our life together is it's brutal, knowing that I won't see her or talk to her again. But there's another thing going on too, and it's right now. It's the missing her. There's nothing I can do about. There's nothing I can't change that, and I can't. I have no power over that. She's gone. She's not in this world anymore, and but the thing that I'm wrestling with now is that in that 15 months together, watching her go through treatment, being with her while she was home on hospice, spending every night in bed with her, and just watching her carry the burden of this disease with such just amazing courage and strength, bravery. She was so vulnerable behind closed doors. All of it. It was just so beautiful. She was so perfect. She was just so perfect. I can't imagine anyone else dealing with what she dealt with and knowing what was ahead of her. Not to mention just the physical pain. She was incredibly graceful. And being there with her until the end, until her heart stopped beating. I felt like I saw, for brief moments, I felt like I saw what God is. I feel like it's just this real subtle but timeless intention is what it feels like. People ask, why are we here? What is the meaning of all this? There's an intention. I feel like before anything existed, there was this intention. and that may be what God is, and the intention is